Welcome to episode 67 of the Relationship Marketing Podcast with Cody B. Today's guest is Mark Hunter. Mark Hunter, CSP, is known as the Sales Hunter. He helps companies and salespeople find and retain better prospects they can close at full price. Mark does this through his keynote speaking, training, and consulting services. All of his work is based on 30-plus years of sales leadership experience and is delivered live or online. Mark is author of 3 best-selling books, High Profit Prospecting, High Profit Selling, and his newest, A Mind for Sales, which on its first day of release zoomed to #1 bestseller status on Amazon. Mark has spoken on 5 continents and traveled more than 200 days per year, working with people, helping to show them how to find and retain better prospects. Mark doesn't view sales as a job, he views it as a lifestyle. He believes when you live sales in this way, you have the ability to create deep relationships that impact others. His mission is to help others see sales in this manner to allow them to increase their influence and impact. He is known for his engaging style that captivates audiences and has shared the stage with people such as Ariana Huffington, Seth Godin, Tony Robbins, and Magic Johnson. The honors Mark has received include being recognized as one of the top 50 most influential sales and marketing leaders. Mark always says the best sale he ever made was proposing to his wife. 39 years later, Mark and his wife have 2 married children and 4 grandchildren. As he likes to say, that was one sale that has kept on giving. And now, Cody B.
Hey everybody, this is Cody Bateman. Welcome to a brand new episode of our Relationship Marketing Podcast. I'm coming to you from Salt Lake City, Utah, in my home during this pandemic time. Somewhat on lockdown. My guest who's with us today is the same, coming from Omaha, Nebraska. I'm going to bring him on in just a second. You've already heard about him from our voiceover there that so nicely shares with us who our guests are going to be. So you know who's coming up here in just a second. Super excited to have him on. But before we bring him on, I just, again, want to shout out to all of you out there that tune in each and every week to this podcast, sharpening your saws, trying to better your skills at creating relationships, at being genuine in creating relationships, and focusing on the first word, relationship, over the second word, marketing. And when you do that, the marketing kind of takes care of itself. And we've got one of the best on that subject with us today, Mr. Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter himself. I'm so excited. It's been a long time since I've been wanting to get you on this show forever. Our schedules finally match up. Mark Hunter, how you doing, my friend?
I am doing absolutely terrific. Thank you for having me on, because I'll tell you what, I have loads of respect for you and the entire Send Out Card family. It's terrific. This is about relationships, what we're in right now. This is the period of relationships.
Well, you're very kind. You know, you were one of our featured speakers at the Relationship Marketing Grand Summit last year. You'll also be a speaker at our virtual summit coming up this year. And we're just honored to have you on our stage, and you do such a great job. I still get comments from a lot of our folks, how impressed they were with your message. And you know, here's what's interesting is you're a great speaker, you're a great presenter and all that, but that's not what people are impressed with. They're impressed with your heart. They're impressed with your genuine content and your genuine heart. And that's why we love having you speak at our events. So I want to start with that. I want to start with speaking from the heart. You know, we have our good friend, Larry Levine, selling from the heart. He's a good friend with both of ours. And you talk a lot about selling from the heart as well, but you actually hone in on a lot of other skills and whatnot. Let's start there. Let's start with what is this heart thing, especially right now? We're both in lockdown. We're both on pandemic times. You can't go out and speak anywhere right now. You've been preaching forever on selling from the heart, using one of Larry's quotes. But you've been preaching forever on, you know, utilizing and building relationships with people. You're one of the best at it. Talk to us about what it means to come from the heart, especially right now during these challenging times.
Wow. We could spend 2 hours right here, but you know what? It's about people. And where is your head at in terms of where you see yourself? Do you see yourself as a taker, or do you see yourself as a giver? And if you see yourself as a giver, in other words, what does that mean? That means helping other people. That's why I love sales. That's why I don't view sales as a job profession. That's why I view sales as a lifestyle, because it's about helping people. And especially right now, I mean, more than ever, there is so much pain and struggling out there. And as we were talking before we hit the record button, we've been given a gift, but we have to look at it that way. We have to look at each day we have, regardless of the situations around us, as a gift. How do we use it? How do we use it to influence and impact people? So, I mean, that's what winds me up every morning.
Yeah, no question about it. And it winds you up on the stage too. You get real passionate about this subject. I love to watch you do that. Now you're quite the influencer. I mean, you know, you've had a best-selling book out, and I'm just sharing the ones, you know, I've read this book, High Profit Prospecting. I'm going to put it up for our YouTube followers. High Profit Prospecting, which you've done really, really well with. And you have a brand new book out like a week ago, A Mind for Sales. I'm going to put this up here on the screen for our YouTube folks. A Mind for Sales, and daily habits and practical strategies for sales success. Now, I want to get into the core of this book in just a second, but before we do that, the magical golden question. You just launched a book during a pandemic season where everybody's on lockdown. How's that working?
Why not? Why not launch a book? Hey, here's the whole thing. I had a lot of people push back and say, oh, you can't do this. You can't do this. And I said, no, I'm going to, for this very simple reason. I believe very strongly in the message in the book. I had people who were able to see an early copy. And I wrote this last year. And they said, how did you know when you were writing this book that this we'd be going to? I said, I didn't. They said, wow, the message in this book is so apropos for the time that we're in right now. And that was just confirmation. That was just confirmation in my mind that this is the right time. Because again, it comes back to, if you have the ability to help somebody, it's your responsibility to do it. So I was pleased to roll out with the book this last week. Besides, my publisher wouldn't let me change the date. No. But you know, this is a lesson for everybody who is watching this. The number of obstacles we had thrown at us. Amazon says, no, we're not receiving shipments. Amazon says, no, we're not shipping books. We had all kinds of assorted issues regarding publishing, regarding printing, regarding everything. And yet, you know what? We believe strong, and we just kept finding another solution. We had a whole tour planned around the country. Well, that got nixed. We had a whole variety of things but every time an obstacle was thrown in our face, I just took a step back and said, wait a minute, let's come up with a different solution. Let's come up with a different outcome. Let's come up with a different way. And so we rolled out Facebook Live, we rolled out YouTube Live, we did a virtual launch part, we did all kinds of different things. And wow, did we learn a lot. And you know what? It worked. The book has been selling terrific. It's been magnificent. Don't allow obstacles to stand in your way of anything. There's always a solution.
Don't you find a lot of times that the obstacle is the solution?
Oh, without a doubt, you look at your history, you look at all the obstacles you've overcome. Every time you figure out what's the right way, and what does it do? It makes you stronger, it makes you better, it makes you more insightful. This has been the most mind-blowing experience for me. And my staff has even said, man, you've really remained calm through this. I said, well, yeah, because don't get hysterical. Just stay calm and figure out options. And there's always a solution. There's always a solution.
One of the things that I've found during this, because I certainly didn't launch a book right now, but we're doing a lot of things with our businesses on an ongoing basis. We've got a lot of events that we had to adjust from live to virtual events. We've got product launches that we're doing throughout the year that we've had to adjust how we're doing it. And it's been interesting because, like you said, you find that when you're placed with this enormous obstacle in front of us, and we have to shift our way around it the best way we can. And as we do so, I'm enlightened by the different ways to do business. It's actually inspiring, because we're kind of the same way. We've gone to virtual everything, virtual watch parties, virtual this, virtual that, versus live events. And for one thing, it's far more cost effective in a lot of ways. And it's just been amazing that, as everybody's on lockdown, what else are they going to do? I mean, they get on the screen and they look at stuff. And so with that in mind, let's talk about all of our salespeople out there. There's a lot of salespeople in different professions, and you speak to all of them. What should they be doing? I mean, how do they get around it? Obviously, they're going virtual. I know there's been a shift in the general sales market. There's been a shift to more online presentation anyway. You create your presentation stack and you present online or virtually, and you've probably spoken to that. But right now, what kind of thing would you tell salespeople in general? Doesn't matter what industry they're in, just salespeople in general. What should they be doing right now to make this the most productive time? Not just staying on par, but make it the most productive time. What do you say?
I can't share one. I'm going to have to share about 20, but stop me. Anyway, hey, here's the thing. More people are having better conversations than ever before. It is amazing because we're all in a social starvation. We got social distance, but we also have social starvation. I'm finding salespeople picking up the phone, calling, making phone calls, having better conversations. But I'll tell you what, as you have a conversation, listen to everybody's backstory. Everybody's got a backstory as to what's transpired so far as we're in this pandemic situation. Listen to them and empathize with them. This is when you build relationships. This is why Send Out Cards is so key right now. It's this whole relationship environment that we're in right now. That's the way you serve people. And the way you also serve people is you listen to people. You listen to people. I'll share with you, this is also an unbelievable way to come up with new opportunities to sell. I was talking to a client and they said, what do you see? And I just shared with them some ideas, and he said, wow, that was really good stuff. And I didn't realize it was such good stuff till he told me it was good stuff. I hung up the phone. I began writing it up. And then I said, I'm going to send it out to some other people, some other clients. I sent it out and I got notes back. And before I knew it, I'm now in my third week of sending out a newsletter called Stay Calm and Lead. It's how you lead sales teams. Cody, I'll add you to the email list.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing what's happened. I heard from a person who I just sent it to. It was a person I worked with 4 or 5 years ago. He said, man, Mark, that's brilliant. We've got to get you online. We got to get you online with the team. It's amazing. You listen to the marketplace. But here's the whole thing. You've got to listen to the marketplace with an optimism, with a calmness, and a sense of authenticity. And it's amazing what you'll hear.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned those last words. You've got to really slow down and listen intently on what people's emotions are, what their needs are right now. And it is a time for building a relationship, not necessarily a time for closing a sale. Although it's interesting to me, and you speak on this, it's in your books. It's interesting that it's typically when you are focusing on relationships is when the sales naturally happen anyway. And I don't know why it's so hard for people to figure that out. I mean, people are so intent on the old school of, I got to close the deal, and I got to do these close tactics and this and that and the other, versus just focusing on taking care of people. And so, yeah, I mean, and again, you're a great speaker to that. Now, this book, the new one, just came out March 31st, Daily Habits and Practical Strategies for Sales Success. That's the subheading, A Mind for Sales. Now, I'm spending a lot of time with daily habits right now myself. In fact, I just finished reading this book,
Oh, yes.
Habits, which is a great book on developing good habits in your life. I highly recommend it to anybody. I'm working a lot on helping people that I work with to create positive daily habits in their relationship marketing efforts, in sending cards and gifts to people, in creating relationships with people, but turning activities into actual habits, and how to do that, and how to track it, those kinds of things. So we're spending a lot of time on daily habits. So that was the first thing that caught my mind when I got your new book. In fact, the first thing I saw was daily habits and practical strategies for sales success. So let's talk about daily habits. What are some of those daily habits that are in here and that are really critical for us right now?
Well, I think the biggest one is focus on your outcomes, not your to-dos. Focus on your outcome. What is the outcome that you want to accomplish? And then you back in and you determine what are the activities they need to do. Too many people just put down activities. I was just on the phone with my assistant about an hour ago, and she said, Mark, with the book launch now done, we got to get stuff off your plate. And she said, what do you want? And immediately we began talking about what are the outcomes? What are the outcomes I want to accomplish over the next year? And this is so key, because then you back in and you realize how much time you've really been wasting doing this activity or that activity. You see, activity in and of itself, it might get you in physical shape if it's a physical activity, but that's no. Well, what I want to do is I write in the book, there's a chapter I have in the book about your three greatest assets: your time, your mind, and your network. And then I break it down even further. And I say, my goal every day is to protect my time. My goal every day is to strengthen my mind. And my other goal is to nurture my network. Now, let's talk about just protecting your time. How do I get stuff off my plate? How do I get stuff off my plate? That's how I focus more on the outcomes. We get too caught up. And right now, especially, everybody's kind of in this hunkered down in home. And they feel they have all this time. And wow, we can't allow bad habits to develop. And not allow. Because otherwise, if you're used to getting up at 6 a.m. in the morning, you still get up at 6 a.m. If you're used to getting up at, I get up at 4:30 every morning. I get up at 4:30. 4:30, boom, boom, boom. You've got to stay focused. Now, is that an activity? No. That's my habit, so I can maximize my time on my outcome.
So let me ask you, and this has been, we talk about daily habits. You're mentioning activities as the habits. Look for the outcome you're looking for first, and then go backwards. Figure out what the activities are that build up to the outcome, and you all can do that on your own for whatever it is that you're involved with. It's funny to me because I think, here's my opinion. I think everyone has to put their personal twist or their personal personality into this daily habit checklist. As an example, you get on social media and you see all these influencers and you scroll and you see, this is what the rich people do. And they give you like 6 things. And there's 2 things on that list that I ain't ever going to do. I'm just not going to do those 2. I'll do the other 4, but I ain't going to do those 2. Now I'm going to replace those 2 with something slightly different that matches me. What do you think about that? Because a lot of time, it's like you have to get up at 5 a.m. Does everybody have to get up at 5 a.m.? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think this is an important subject because a lot of people that I'm talking to right now and self-coaching right now, it's like they're on overload with information, and they're saying, God, I got to do all these things. I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. I'm like, whoa, time out. You don't have to do all that. You don't have to do all that. You need to do some fundamental things. Yes. But you got to do those things within your own personality. Does that make sense?
Oh, amen on that one. You got to stay in your lane and your person. I can't be Richard Branson. I can't be Richard. I I have to be me. So I'm going to adapt to what I feel comfortable with. Now, I feel very good about getting up at 4:30 in the morning. Now, one of the reasons I do is because my wife gets up at 4:30 because she has to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to spend quality time with her before she leaves for work. That's one of the reasons I get up. And I do that because it fits my lifestyle. And also, I'm just plain excited because I also know that in my own life, that first hour or two in the morning, I can get a lot of my heavy thinking done because I'm really good thinking first thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's before the phone begins to ring, before I got a few other friends who get up early, we text back, but it's pretty focused time. There are others that are going to be much more adept at doing that in the evening. That's fine. 30 years ago, that was me. 30 years ago, I could be up till 2 a.m. in the morning and still get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm not doing that anymore. Those days have left me.
Well, I'll tell you, it's just it is really an interesting time right now, and people are kind of beating themselves up. They're a little bit hard on themselves because they're on lockdown. They're scrolling social media. They're seeing all the things they ought to be doing. And don't get me wrong, there are fundamental things that you ought to be doing, but you also got to kind of cater that. I use the example of Warren Buffett. I'm at a stage right now. I'm an entrepreneur. I've always invested in me. I've always invested in my companies, my whole life. And so my investment portfolio is my companies, and I've invested a lot of money into my companies over the years. I'm at a stage now where I really want to diversify and, go out and get money working for me in other areas and those kind of things. So I'm actually on Instagram. I see, I sign up for some of these investment things, whatever. And so investment posts come up. Ones I like, I'll actually save it into a file called investment ideas. So now I have this file of investment ideas. So it's really been good because it's kind of put me in the mindset of investments and investment practices, habits of starting to invest in other things. So I'm putting my own personality into that, and I'm starting to build up some ideas and punch lists and things I want to do. The other day, I saw this thing from Warren Buffett, and it was like all these things that Warren Buffett does. I had to start to laugh because I was like, I ain't going to do half that stuff. The guy just barely bought a smartphone. He's had a flip phone. And he just barely bought a smartphone. He drives a 1997 Cadillac. He's lived in the same house that he's lived in, forever. He really has no hobbies. He doesn't really do much. He invests. And it kind of alluded to the idea that if you want to be like Warren Buffett, that's how you got to be. Well, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to drive a 1997 Cadillac. I want to drive a 2019 Ford truck. And I want to go snowmobiling and ride my motorcycle. So I have a different set of values than Warren Buffett does. So here's what that means. I'm never going to have a portfolio that looks like his, but I don't need a portfolio that looks like his. Now I need a portfolio that takes care of me and my family and our hobbies and our lifestyle, but I can build that. So my portfolio practices might look a little bit different. I don't know. I don't want to keep rambling on about that, but I think it's a very important topic,
That is a very important topic. In fact, I'll let you know, Warren's house is 3 miles up this street. I mean, literally, it's right up this street is where he lives, and his office is about halfway between where I am now and where he lives. And so when I stop by his house tonight, I'll make sure that I tell him that we talked about you today. Anyway, now here's the thing. I don't want to be like Warren either. I don't want to be like that. I mean, that's the life he lives. But however, what I do say is that I can look at some of those people out there. And for instance, he reads 500 pages a day. And what's very interesting about his reading, it's what I call long form reading. It's books. And too many people today are guilty of just short form reading. And I know you do a lot of long form reading because you read a lot of books, Cody.
Yeah.
And that's where you get the really in-depth knowledge. And you know what? I don't think Warren spends too much time out on Facebook. I think he's only done like 2 tweets in his life. I know he has a Twitter account, but I think he's only done like 2 tweets or whatever. People are probably rushing out there right now on Twitter to, to find him.
Right.
But I mean, see, so I don't want to be like him, but I will be observant and watch and listen and look and pull different ideas, but I'm going to put them into who I am. My wife does not want me to be anybody but me. She would not have stuck around as long as she has if I turned into somebody else.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's real important to again, just tailor good fundamental practices to who you are as a person. There are universal laws. If you're kind to people, they're going to be kind back. If you're not kind to people, they're not going to be kind back. So that's a fundamental law you probably ought to figure out and do. That one, there's no sway on that. It's, yeah, I mean, there are basic fundamentals that you got to do. Save money. That's fundamental. You can't blow all your money because that'll cause problems. You got to save some of your money. You got to invest some of your savings. Those are fundamental laws, but you can tailor those to, whatever kind of fits you the best way. So, yeah, I mean, so listen, everybody, we are listening to the one and only Mark Hunter. He's known as the Sales Hunter. You can find him at thesaleshunter.com. He is the best-selling author of High Profit Prospecting. He's got a brand new book out titled A Mind for Sales, Daily Habits and Practical Strategies for Sales Success. Again, to all of our listeners, check this guy out, thesaleshunter.com. Make sure you go there and check out this guy, what he does, some of his content, some great stuff on your website. So just shifting a little bit, I love this in your notes here. The best sales that you ever made. What was the best sales you ever made?
Was getting my wife to say yes.
And that was 39 years ago.
39 years and 11 months.
Yep. All right.
Coming up on the big
we got to figure out, I want to hear the story. What was the pickup line? How did you meet your wife? What was the pickup line? How did you ever convince her to be with you? I love you, brother, but like the rest of us, you married up.
I married way over my pay grade, way over my, and I know you did too. I know, I've met your wife.
Yeah.
I met her. My wife would say, now we have conflicting opinions. I say that I met her at a dance in college. She says, no, you met me at the milk machine in the cafeteria. So there you go. Now, how's that? Is that priceless, or is that priceless?
It's normal. We always tend to have a different story than our spouse does.
Yes, we do. And you know what, though? I mean, we've been married for 39 years and 11 months, and it's been wonderful. It's been a great ride.
I loved what you said. You get up at 4:30 because she gets up at 4:30. That right there, that's a perfect segue into why you're so happy in your marriage, because you can just tell if you want to get up at that time to spend time with your wife, you must like being with her. She must think you're okay too. So, and you've got four grandchildren and how many kids?
2 kids, and they're both married, and they both have 2 kids. And maybe this coronavirus thing will bring some more grandchildren.
Yeah,
that's what my wife keeps talking.
There you go. What are the ages of your grandkids?
Ages are 5, 3, 2, and 1.
Boy, aren't they just the joy of life? Those kids?
They are absolutely. I got a chance to FaceTime. Unfortunately, I don't live near them. 2 of them live in Seattle. 2 of them live in Dallas. I did get a chance to FaceTime the 2 in Seattle this morning for just a couple of minutes. Love them dearly.
Very nice.
That's what life is about.
It is, and it's part of the reason. It's part of the reason I bring that up. We talked briefly about your grandchildren, briefly about your children, and of course your wife. And that is what life's about. And right now, especially, we're quarantined with those people, at least our spouses. And if you still have kids in the home, your kids too. And hopefully, and I know that it is, but hopefully this is a time for all of you, whether you're a young parent or an older parent with now grandkids, or even not a parent at all, you know, somebody that has a significant other or somebody special in your life that you're now quarantined with, that you're now spending time with. You know, this is the true time where family has to come together, that I hope that you're really focusing on how important those people are. And like everything you do in your sales job or in your profession of any kind, really all any of that is to come right back full circle to support your family. Talk to us a little bit about that. You know, you know, we all have values and whatnot, but in today's day and age, with what's going on in the world, not only the pandemic, but all of the mayhem around the pandemic and people kind of getting crazy. Talk to us about family. You know, what is that importance, and how do we glean off of our family to get through all this?
Well, that's, you know, my kids, my son is 32, my daughter's 30. And it's very interesting. Growing up, you can feel that you're having no impact on them. And boy, believe me, we can all be frustrated when your kids are in high school and middle school and all that sort of stuff. But then as you see them as adults and you see them embracing the same values and the same styles that you taught them as that you modeled for them, then you go, wow, this really is pretty powerful. This is really. And that's really what you have to look at. Parenting is not something you do in the moment. Parenting is something you do for a lifetime. And you're never done parenting. I mean, our kids live miles and miles away from us. But you know what? They're still very near and dear to us. We talk to them. I mean, I was so glad when my son called me this morning and said, hey, you want to FaceTime with you bet I want to FaceTime with the grandkids. Yeah. What is it about? It's about creating what I call a legacy moments. And if you really think about it, you want to be able to create a legacy with your kids, with your children, with people who you come in contact with. Because as I shared at the Relationship Summit, I'm sure I shared this piece that really you want them to look back and other people you meet 20 years later and say, wow, that time I got to spend with Cody made a real impact on my life. You don't say that arrogantly, but you say that because you made a difference in their life. That's what our role is in what we do. That's why I sell, because I get to come in contact with so many people. My objective is to create those legacy moments.
So we are listening to Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter, he calls himself. You can find him at thesaleshunter.com. Brand new book, A Mind for Sales. Again, I'm going to put this up here so our YouTubers can look at that real quick. All right, where do we find the book? Where can we go get this? And, you know, you mentioned some virtual tours and stuff. How can our listeners get to one of those?
Yeah, well, thank you for asking. The book right now, because most bookstores are closed, is, of course, Amazon or Barnes & Noble or Books A Million, wherever on sale, because it's in Kindle version, hardback, audio, as read by the author. That was a trip, but that's a whole separate story. Yeah. And the virtual tours, we did some this last week with the launch. Again, we had to do this. We were on Facebook Live and YouTube Live and Vimeo Live. And I was just talking with my assistant, and she said, boy, those really went well. So we're planning to kind of gear those up and maybe do it on a regular basis, because it's just fun to be able to have people and be able to talk with people and share. This world that we're in is starving for relationships. And again, I'll come back to send out cards. It's why we do what we do, because it's about helping people. And what can be more fun than that? You know, I'm sorry, that just jazzes me. I mean, I know that jazzes you.
Oh yeah, no question about it. So I'm assuming that if we just go to thesaleshunter.com, we'll be able to see your schedules and be able to.
Yeah, we're going to put something. Thank you. See, I listened to you, and that's a good idea. I'm going to make sure that we get that schedule up there on that. But yeah, go out to my YouTube channel, and again, it's just I try to be out there on social media. I'm more of a B2B person than a B2C person, so I'm probably on LinkedIn more. But I do try to spend a good amount of time over on Facebook, and I'm connected to a lot of the Send Out Card family, which is always wonderful. And so it's great.
Well, Mark, we want to thank you for being one of our speakers last year, and of course, coming up on September 7th and 8th this year will be a virtual event, and we're looking forward to having you as one of our keynote speakers at that event as well. And so we want to thank you for your participation there, and you certainly can learn more about Mark on our websites and find out more about the Relationship Marketing Grand Summit coming up. You're one of the speakers. Okay, so the closing of our show, this is what I always like to do, is just no more questions. I just give you the floor. This is your time. Share with us whatever you feel like our audience needs to hear right now. And this is how we'll close up the show. So go ahead.
Each day, make it your goal to influence and impact each person that you come in contact with. Because when you do, you're going to have earned the right, the privilege, the honor, and the respect to be able to meet with those people again. And when you do that, you'll never know when you create a legacy moment. And when you do that, it's a life well worth living.
Wow. Well, there you have it. You heard it from the one and only Mark Hunter. I sure appreciate you, my friend, the service that you provide our community, our business community. I really, really appreciate it. Best wishes with the book. Again, make sure you go get a copy of that. I have not read this yet. I just got a copy. I've thumbed through it a little bit, so I'm anxious because I've already seen a few chapters that are very intriguing to me. I'm in the middle of 3 books right now. So as soon as I'm done with those, this will be the next. Like I said, I do read a lot. I like how you said that, long copy. How did you say that? Long copy?
I said long form reading, because it's so easy to go on to a Facebook post or something. I call that short form. And I go long form reading, where you really dig into a subject, dig into a topic. To me, that's
the
learning.
Long form reading. And again, I think that's critical. I met recently about 2 years ago with one of my nieces, and I come from a large family, and she wanted to meet with me, and she asked me the question. She said, "You grew up in the same home with all your siblings. You have a different outcome of your life. You've been able to enjoy certain types of successes, and they have as well. But what is it that makes you different than perhaps your siblings or other people around you? What is the one thing that makes it different? How do you think I answered that question?"
I think it's because of your personal drive and what you saw, and you had aspirational goals.
Well, that would have been the second and third thing, but the first thing that I mentioned to her is that it all has to do with my books. In fact, she was in my home, and I just had her look over in my library. I says, "If you look in that library and see those books have made all the difference in the world to me." And they started when I was 14 years old. I started reading personal development books when I was 14. Haven't stopped since. I've got a library of thousands of books now. And fortunately, I love to read, and I love to mark up books, and I love to write notes in the books and whatnot. But I'll tell you, Mark, if I didn't have that library, or I didn't have the reading, I really don't know where I'd be today. That's how powerful it is. Now, some of you may not like to read. Some of you might like to listen better. But whatever it is, whether it's reading or listening, make sure you do it. Make sure you do it and get some good golden nuggets in your head every day. And that long form reading, especially now in the social media world, that long form reading or long form listening is really, really important. So anyway, there you have it. Mark Hunter, appreciate you, my friend. Look forward to seeing you soon, maybe. I mean, who knows when we can travel again, but whenever it is, right?
We will connect. We will connect in person, I think, before we know it, because you know what? Too many opportunities out there. We're going to get this behind us.
Absolutely. So, things have their way of working their way out. So there you have it. Thanks again. Appreciate you all tuning in with us on our Relationship Marketing Podcast. jump in again next week because we'll have another one lined up for you, and they're all bringing in great stuff to us. Take care, everybody. Wish you the very best. Remember, be kind to people. Be kind to people, especially right now. Just figure out how to reach out in kindness to others. We all need it. Take care now. We'll see you.
Enjoyed this episode of the Relationship Marketing Podcast with Cody B, be sure to subscribe to the show and leave a review so that together we can get this message, The Power of Human Connection, out to the world. You can find Cody's new book, The Power of Human Connection, on Amazon or the Send Out Cards gift store.